Hi, this is Kristen here, and welcome to another process video. Today I'm working on day 21 of 30 Days of Sketches with Christy's Beautiful Life, and I am working with Color Rush Studios June kit. So it had a lot of the Simple Stories Summer line that just came out, and I've already kind of started on the layout. I had taken two of the papers, gutted the orange one, and am using it as a border, and then the yellow paper has little suns on it. This paper was that I'm working with now, was actually a whole paper of like different colored lines like this. So I had just essentially cut out like the end of it, and then I was just cutting the strips apart. Not all of them. I do leave some of them together, but I wasn't wanting the white on my layout, so that's kind of why I chose to do it that way. I could have kept like the strip or the paper intact as was, but the white pieces kind of was kind of bothering me a little bit, so that's what I decided to do. And so the layout ends up, it looks like to me like it's, you got your pictures. It technically calls for 4. I end up using 5 on either side, and then the center is kind of where you have all of your kind of cluster, your title, kind of most of your ephemera built up in the center. And so I'm going to use these papers as my center. Now at this point I wasn't sure what I was going to actually document, what pictures. I just started building the layout, and then felt like then I would kind of figure out from there what pictures I was going to use. Now, I usually will do layouts that way. Typically, I'll start to kind of build them out and then figure out what photographs I'm going to use. Sometimes I will determine a layout based on the photograph itself. So I'll pick out a picture and then pull my papers and then do it that way. So it's kind of like a mixed bag of what I'll do in terms of, do I start the layout and then add my pictures? Or do I pick out the pictures and then build my layout out for that? So sometimes I do either or. So I start to pull some of the ephemera pieces, and I like the ice cream cone. Now I end up, obviously, I will go away from that. So, because at this point I did not know what pictures I was going to use yet. So I was just pulling pieces that I liked that went with kind of the look of the page, or pieces that kind of really caught my eye. Because again, I feel like a lot of this stuff's like interchangeable. No matter what pictures you use, you can use a lot of it with, whatever pictures you're going to use. But so I just was pulling stuff that I liked the look of it. And this is some more ephemera. So these are all like they look like little Polaroid pictures. So different sizes. Some are wider, some are a little bit skinnier. So again, I'm just pulling pieces that I like. Now, so I've now decided what pictures I'm going to use. So this was actually my son, my oldest now, who is 11. He was 3 in this picture. I was actually pregnant with my second. We were vacationing in Hilton Head, and we had buried my dad in the sand, and he decided he wanted to get buried in the sand as well. And so that's kind of what he was doing there. Of course, we got some cute little shots. The reason why I ended up using 5 photographs is because I only had the pictures, these 5 pictures of them doing this together. So I decided to use all of them on the layout because I really couldn't decide. They were all kind of different, and I liked all of them. So I end up pulling some of the ephemera off that I decide isn't going to work with this. So, and then you'll see me here in a little bit. I start pulling in ephemera that I had initially hadn't picked out, but so I'm going to start adhering the pictures down. And I didn't mount these on anything because I felt like with the dark sand and the bright paper in the background, the pictures popped off the page enough. Like, I will only mount something if I kind of feel like a little bit more attention needs to be shown to the photograph, or just, or if the pattern paper is really busy, just to kind of get the picture to not get lost in the background, if I'm using, a really heavy pattern paper. But this, I felt like it didn't need anything extra, so. And sometimes for me, not mounting is just if I'm trying to get a layout done quickly, or laziness. Sometimes it's laziness. But again, I really did not feel like it would have added anything to have these mounted, so. And I rarely will look at a layout and think, oh man, I should have mounted it. Every once in a while, I guess I do, but usually I'm okay not mounting. Again, unless it's like, really busy paper that I feel like, it's the picture will get lost on, so. And I'm just trying to make sure everything's lined up visually. Get my T-square ruler, and of course my big head's going to come in here to make sure I like how things are arranged there. And I'm going to start gluing these strips down. I show a couple pieces of being adhered down. I do kind of leave a little bit of a gap in between so you can kind of see some of the yellow poking out. That's the whole reason why I kind of cut the strips down, so then that way, it wasn't obvious that it came from a pattern paper, so it looked like I piecemealed this together. But I only show a couple of these because who wants to watch me, glue a bunch of strips down? I certainly don't, so I spare you of that. And then this is like a little piece of rickrack, so that came in one of the ephemera packs with the color rush. And so this is where I'm going to pull out those Polaroid pieces again, because I was kind of like, well, I picked out pieces that wouldn't work here. I see this little beach scene one, as well as the sand one with the flip-flops in it. And then I decided I still like this chilling in a summer to remember, because to me, that's what they look like they were doing. They were just chilling in the sand, so. And then I'm going through the pieces here I picked out initially. I like this photograph one. I was kind of back and forth between it and the two smaller Polaroid pieces. And I think the reason why I decided to use the two smaller Polaroids is because I felt like, since the right was kind of a bigger cluster, I kind of felt like this, it created a little bit of a different look over on that side. I felt like if I used the camera piece, it was like one big cluster, or one big, ephemera piece and one big ephemera piece. So, and then these are like just little tabs. The one says photos, and I don't know if this one says smile, but these are heart pieces by Vicki Boutin. So those came in the summer kit from Color Rush, and they are just so stinking cute. They're like two cardstock pieces, so different colors, and then it's a vellum piece layered on top, and then it has stitching through it. I ended up going through a bunch of my older stash, so that's why I had that box out, and I was pulling. I've had these pieces for a long time. I think these are like Julie's pieces that I had a while. And I was trying to get some of it worked in, but the colors I didn't feel like really worked with like kind of the muted colors of this paper line. But I do end up pulling in the sun, so I do at least get one piece used. And I was kind of back and forth with where to put it. I do ultimately decide that I want it over on that side. Now I don't stick it down because I don't have anything adhered down except for the stripes in the middle. So I'm going to start getting this stuff adhered down. And so I've gotten that right hand side glued down too. I did that off screen. The beach, that piece there is kind of a 3D kind of chipboard, and that was something I'd bought a long time ago. I can't even tell you where I purchased it from, but again, it was an old piece. I thought it worked really well with this, and that's why the chilling ended up not being my technically my title, because I saw this beach and I was like, oh, let me get another piece used up. So I end up using those circle stickers. Those came in the kit for Color Rush, and I think that probably was the same alphas that was in the Color Rush line for this particular collection. And so I end up using that as part of my title, so it says Beach Vibes on it. And then I'm going to add some of these Vicky Bouton hearts, and then add a few glitter pieces. Those came in Color Rush's kit this month. And then these pieces are from Colorcast Designs. I had purchased those separately, so I'm part of their subscription now, but those were some separate pieces that I had bought. So they're orange hearts and then a little heart geotag, which I felt worked perfectly with the colors of this kit. So here are some close-ups of the layout. I thought it turned out really cute, and I was able to do a little bit more stash busting. Here are a few more close-up shots, and I appreciate you coming by to watch another process video.